Laura's young boyfriend, whom she keeps on the side, is having another breakup drama with her. She pushed the divorce agreement in front of me, her tone as if she were instructing an assistant on scheduling. Sign it. We're just putting on a show to calm the child down. I didn't say anything, quietly writing my name, one stroke at a time. When I turned to leave, the heavy, carved wooden door didn't close properly, and the raucous laughter and conversation spilled out. Tisk. Richard's temper. He's really mastered it. Laura's going to divorce him to calm down her little lover outside, and he just signed without a word. Another voice, full of unmasked lightness and mockery, followed. Just a wimp. Laura knows exactly how to handle him, making him do whatever she wants. I stayed silent, only replying to the message that had just come in. Don't get stuck in the muck, Richard. Come be with me. Okay. I typed okay. Chapter 1. After replying, the other party sent several messages in a row, but before I could read them, I was pulled back by the sound inside. Laura's voice came, lazy with control, each word hitting my eardrum. You don't believe me? Then let's bet. I bet that within this month, he won't dare to be even half a minute late and will come running to me for a reconciliation. The stake is 3 months of drinks. How about it? Laughter followed, mixed with the clink of wine glasses. I didn't stop walking, striding through the luxurious carpeted corridor. I walked until I stepped out of the brightly lit villa, which felt like a cage. My wife, Laura, had recently fallen for a young, spoiled artist. She rented him a high-floor studio with great lighting in the center of the art district, a space worth a fortune, but that young artist was quite proud. Standing in the art kingdom Laura had personally built for him, he said, I refuse to be the one who destroys someone else's family. Laura found his attitude amusing, and so, the absurd performances went on. At her birthday party, she was very enthusiastic about taking pictures with me. At that time, I naively thought it was sincere. Happy inside, I awkwardly went along. Later, I accidentally saw a group chat tag on her phone, open only to Ryan. The second time, she humiliated me in public. At a company meeting, she baselessly rejected my efforts and plans, letting everyone laugh at me like a fool. Then, she turned around and sent the video of my humiliation to Ryan. See how annoying he is. Such a fool. This time, she wanted a divorce. I decided to let her have it. The phone in my pocket vibrated silently once. Then again, I stopped, took it out. The screen's light cut through the darkness of the winter night. The sender was a contact abbreviated as Fiona. The message was short. Richard, is this for real? I truly believe it. A gentleman's word is his bond. With a decisive force, his fingers struck a word on the cold screen. Once said, there's no turning back. Chapter 2. In the afternoon, we drove to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Throughout the journey, her mood was surprisingly good, her head gently swaying to the soothing jazz rhythm. As we got out of the car, a cold breeze rushed in, mingling with the scent of expensive cedar and tobacco she wore. Looking a bit pale, she raised an eyebrow, seemingly noticing me for the first time. Didn't sleep well last night. How many times do I have to tell you? It's just about entertaining a child. For the novelty. Before she finished speaking, a velvet box slipped out of her coat pocket, the lid popping open with a snap. A dazzling, eye-catching, and avant-garde men's diamond ring quietly lay on the ground. A hint of embarrassment flashed across Laura's eyes as she quickly picked it up and shoved it back into her pocket, clearing her throat nonchalantly. Let's go. Let's make this quick. I have a lunch meeting. Inside the Civil Affairs Bureau, the process was surprisingly fast. The staff asked in a formal manner, is this a voluntary divorce? Yes, I nodded. Is the relationship confirmed to be broken? Yes, I nodded again. There will be a 1-month cooling-off period. After that, both parties must come in person to finalize the divorce certificate. She handed over the stamped receipt. Laura took it and, before even leaving the service area, immediately pulled out her phone to take a picture. Almost simultaneously, my phone in my pocket buzzed. A familiar WeChat profile picture, Ryan. Below the photo, a line of text was glaringly clear, behave. Want to see what a divorce certificate looks like tonight? I'll keep it for you. My fingertips were cold, and without hesitation, I deleted the conversation. The next second, a new message popped up, from Fiona. On the 3rd of next month, the Concorde flight from Toronto to London is reserved, followed by, don't be sad, I'll be waiting for you in Toronto. Later that night, I dreamed of Laura. She was a young girl then, with neatly cut short hair and eager eyes. Richard, how did your hands get so beautiful? You write well, and you must play the piano well too. That expensive Steinway was nothing but background music for her at a cocktail party. What is the Koo family? From now on, everyone will have to look at our faces. Her vows were loud, but in the end, she swallowed the last valuable asset of the Koo family through marriage. I used to think that was love. We had been childhood sweethearts, inseparable, until the fire that destroyed the old Koo family mansion. leaving me with nothing overnight. Laura Lynn, from the Lynn family, took on the responsibility of looking after me, the orphan. In those days, drowning in despair, she frequently appeared in my hospital room. She helped me with rehabilitation, sat with me as I pored over financial reports, and defended me against sharp words in board meetings. Those who hinted that I was a useless man surviving off a woman would always disappear the next day in a disgraceful manner. Marriage seemed to be the only way out of those suffocating years, the inevitable result of more than 20 years of dependence. The day I finally earned my EMBA and took over the struggling Koo family business, she rushed into the study, chin slightly raised. "Mr. Koo, congratulations on your graduation. Want to go get a certificate? This way, it's more official." That day, we became legally married. After losing my closest relatives, I firmly believed that family was the only wealth, and Laura was my only family. My life centered around family, and I did my best to take care of her daily needs. In my dreams, it was her warm fingertips as she put the ring on my finger. She held my chin, her voice hoarse. "Richard, this is what I wanted." But before she could finish, the dream ended. Waking up, all I saw was impenetrable darkness, heavy and suffocating on my chest. My phone on the pillow suddenly vibrated, its soft glow piercing the darkness. A video MMS from an unknown number. I opened it. The image swayed. It was Ryan's youthful, arrogant face, bare-chested, lying in a messy, pristine white bed. The camera slowly panned downward. On the sheets, she lay there, exhausted from several sleepless days and nights. My stomach churned. In a panic, my fingertips touched the screen, and a deep, penetrating voice echoed, "Richard." I froze, as if stung. In the darkness, the only light source clearly illuminated the caller ID. Fiona. Chapter 3. Fiona was once a fellow patient on the other side of a cold screen during my darkest days. By chance, I joined an anonymous trauma support forum, and the system randomly assigned me a long-term support partner. Silent Echo. The avatar was an abstract painting. For nearly 2 years, I firmly believed that the person on the other side was a young man struggling with anxiety. At first, he was as indifferent as a stubborn rock, giving no response to any of my shares, but there was a subtle sense of salvation between kindred souls. I sent daily fragments persistently, from cold words to environmental recordings, as though casting a message in a bottle into the deep sea. Finally, one day, I started receiving brief replies. Thank you." Then, we were able to have a few exchanges. Over time, a near brotherly rapport had formed. So, when she first initiated a voice call, hearing that clear, forceful female voice nearly made me drop my phone in shock. I'm so sorry, I always thought you were a guy." Her voice was dry. "I'm not disturbing you." Fiona's voice was calm. "It's 3 p.m. in Toronto now." After that, a strange sense of boundaries made me instinctively pull away. It wasn't until nearly a month later that I returned to the forum. That day, Laura had just thrown the gilded divorce agreement in front of me. On the screen, Fiona's private message popped up. "How have you been lately?" My mind was consumed by the word divorce, and my fingers instinctively typed, "Getting a divorce." My fingers moved unconsciously, and I opened the conversation again. "Fiona, I think I'm about to fall into the abyss again. I had lost the Koo family. My parents and the old mansion had turned to ashes. Now, even Laura, whom I had once thought was my one true love, was about to sever this last connection. I never expected that the reply from the other side of the screen would come. "Don't get stuck in the mire, Richard. Be with me." At the same time, the sound of laughter and conversation from Laura's office seeped through the door, clear and ear-piercing. Richard Koo, after divorcing Laura, what's he even worth? He's just a dog trained by Laura." Exactly. Laura's lazy and controlling voice rang out. "He'll crawl on his knees to the place I designate, bringing me whatever I want with both hands." I stared blankly at the woman on the other side of the door, a familiar yet strange figure. My fingertips were cold, with a resolute sense of finality, and I typed heavily on the screen. "Okay." Fiona was decisive. Not long after I replied, I received a PDF in my inbox, Toronto Action Guide. The document clearly listed all the matters at hand, with priorities and deadlines marked. What was most bizarre was that at the end of the to-do list, there was a long list of tourist attractions. At the very end of the file was a line she had typed herself. "As the saying goes, the moon abroad is never as round as at home, and the scenery is the same, you know. I'll regret it if you don't believe me." For some reason, the last 2 sentences hit me hard, and I smiled for the first time in a long while. I gladly accepted her guide and began following the itinerary. By day, I dealt with affairs. By night, I packed my bags. The day I moved out of the penthouse, I received a message from Laura. "Moved out? Not even a call? Are you sulking?" She was touring Europe with Ryan. Immediately after, a photo of a luxurious hotel terrace at night came through. This hotel's private cigar bar is quite nice. Next time, I'll take you there to try it. My finger hovered over the block button, but thinking about the final settlement in a month, I ultimately held back. For the next half month, I operated like an efficient machine. I dealt with non-core assets that could be quickly liquidated. The most mentally exhausting part was sorting through all the asset documents and share certificates that Laura had entrusted to me over the years. Each document felt like a heavy brick, recording how the Koo family had been devoured, and how I had handed over the rope in her protective illusion. The night before we were to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, my phone suddenly lit up. It was Laura. She was back. Through the receiver, I could hear a tense and confused tone. "Richard, did you move out?" Chapter 4. Laura seemed to have long grown accustomed to the silence on my end of the phone, as she let out a soft laugh. "Richard, sometimes you really are." She paused, seemingly searching for the right word. "Can you be more of a man and stop being so melodramatic? It's annoying. I've told you 100 times. It's just an act." Her tone was as relaxed as if she were discussing the weather. "How about this? Let's just play the act out. Tomorrow, go with me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to pick up the divorce certificate." I held the phone, my fingertips cold. "Richard, don't worry. It's just..." She seemed to want to add something. "Okay," I interrupted her, my voice calm and unwavering. Wow. On the other end of the line, a louder, mocking cheer erupted. I didn't listen any further and directly ended the call. Then, I sent the Civil Affairs Bureau's opening hours through WeChat. The next day, I woke up early. Laura arrived fashionably late. She was wearing a sharply cut black cashmere coat, which only enhanced her commanding presence. The divorce process was even smoother than last time. It took only 5 minutes from start to finish. After leaving the service area, Laura seemed to be in a good mood. I put the certificate away and looked up at her, my gaze calm and steady. "Laura, do you have time later?" She seemed momentarily stunned. Since we got married, in public, I had never addressed her directly by name. At the company, she was always formally referred to as President Lin. The next second, her eyes, always calculating and scrutinizing, curved into a smile, and she spoke in a clear voice. Yes, no matter how cold, calculating, or indifferent Laura had been over the past year, I had never thought of erasing the past version of her completely. I still remembered her youthful figure standing in front of me, and the cup of warm water she had handed me during the darkest days after the Koo family collapsed. I was grateful for those moments, whether genuine or not, and thankful for the care, even if it had an ulterior motive. So, even though we'd come this far, I never thought of slipping away quietly like a coward. I wanted to give this relationship, and the shadow of the person who once brought light into my life, a dignified conclusion. However, things didn't go as planned. Just before we were about to head to the restaurant, her young boyfriend sent a message. Laura turned to me with a smile and said there was some company business she needed to attend to and that we could talk about this another day. The heavy dark clouds rolled in that evening. Suddenly, large raindrops began to pound the ground. Thunder rumbled from afar, followed by a blinding flash of lightning that illuminated the dim room, turning everything pale. Boom. My body stiffened, and an uncontrollable flash of searing light, thick smoke, and my father's final gaze appeared before my eyes. I curled up in the corner of the couch, hugging myself tightly, trying to use every ounce of strength to fight off the fear and physical tremors that almost tore me apart. At that moment, my phone rang. On the other end of the line, the deafening sounds of music, clinking glasses, and the wild banter of men and women mixed together, creating a dizzying, chaotic background. Then, I clearly heard her voice, laced with deep contempt, like an ice pick dipped in poison, stabbing through my eardrums. "Koo family heir? Ha, what a joke. Do you know, all those years taking care of him, watching him like a useless piece of trash who couldn't even speak. I'm so sick of it. If it weren't for that little scrap of Koo family wealth he had, who the hell would have the patience to coddle a scared, useless heir? Marriage. Want to know why I married him so early? It to get the last bit of juice out of the Koo family and make it official in my hands. As for him," she let out an extremely sharp, mocking laugh. "You get it. Ha ha ha." Boom. A thunderclap exploded above my head, shaking the entire building. Her venomous words on the phone, the storm outside, the destructive fire in my memories. In that instant, everything was linked and detonated by that strike of lightning. The immense humiliation and shame overwhelmed me like a tidal wave. Just then, the screen lit up. It was Fiona calling. "Richard?" Her voice came through the receiver, calm, clear, and with an odd, penetrating power. "Are you crying?" Her voice remained steady. I wanted to say no, to deny this last moment of vulnerability, but my throat felt as if it had been welded shut, and apart from the broken sounds of breath, I couldn't utter a word. "Send me your location," she commanded, her tone clear and decisive, with an undeniable strength. "I'll come to find you." Chapter 5. After Laura became single again, A group of second-generation elites who were either close to Laura Lynn or hoped to attach themselves to the Lynn family organized a party called Celebrating New Beginnings, booking the largest VIP room in the city's top luxury club. It was unclear how late they partied, but by the time they had drunk themselves senseless, the room was a mess of people sprawled out in various states of inebriation. Someone, in a haze, pulled out their phone to scroll and suddenly shouted, "Whoa, big gossip. Check the trending searches. That mysterious lady from the Kim family, who has always been abroad handling the core business, Fiona Kim. She's quietly come back to a city." No way. Someone rubbed their eyes and slurred. Isn't she stationed in Toronto? After her grandfather passed, she barely came back. Always so elusive. I swear it's true. It's everywhere. The person shoved their phone in front of everyone's face. There's proof. With a picture. My God. It really is her. The aura, even through the screen. It's intimidating. Wait, is there someone next to her? Whoa, the way they're so close. That must be her boyfriend. Looks like she brought him back to meet the elders. No, this person. Why does he look so familiar? Laura. Someone pushed the quiet Laura, who had been drinking in the corner, staring at her phone without speaking. Look, the person next to Fiona. Doesn't he look like Richard? Laura hadn't actually been drunk, but she had no interest in other people's gossip. How could it be my ex-husband? She impatiently took the phone and scoffed. Richard. Before she could finish speaking, her gaze swept over the photo on the screen, and she froze. The photo was taken at the VIP entrance of the airport late at night, under a huge black umbrella. A tall woman dressed in a sharply cut black trench coat, her profile cold and refined, exuded an intimidating aura. The man next to her was holding the umbrella with one hand, talking and laughing with her. Laura seemed as if she had been burned, but, for the sake of her pride, she quickly adopted a relaxed demeanor and said, "There are plenty of people in the world who look ordinary and resemble someone else. This Kim family heir's taste isn't even that great." A group of people behind her immediately chimed in. Ha ha ha. Laura's right. The heir's taste is really nothing special. In the bathroom, Laura pondered. How could Richard possibly know Fiona? The woman who held the core assets of the Kim family, who even her mother had to be respectful toward. They were from two completely different worlds. It must be a mistake. He had called her before, saying he had something he wanted to discuss. He wouldn't have moved on so quickly. She pulled out her phone, about to dial his number, but her eyes glanced at the time at the top of the screen. 3:17 a.m. At this hour, he was probably asleep, but it didn't matter. No matter the time or place, he would always answer her calls. However, what came through the receiver was a cold, mechanical, emotionless voice. "Sorry, the number you dialed is not in service. Please try again later." Since that destructive fire, I had never stepped out of a city. In moments of tension, I would instantly be pulled back to that nightmarish moment with flames reaching the sky, and encountering something entirely unfamiliar would plunge me into an uncontrollable panic and speechlessness. At this moment, I sat beside Fiona. Outside the private plane's window was an impenetrable night and rolling clouds. Fiona was tall. Even though we sat side by side, the powerful aura she carried from her long tenure at the top brought an invisible pressure. From getting into the car to boarding the plane, she spoke very little. When the driver or the flight attendant spoke to her, she only responded with the briefest of words, her voice cold and crisp, carrying an undeniable sense of authority. Her identity was clearly extraordinary. Despite the late hour and heavy rain, many reporters who had heard the news immediately rushed over, microphones extending toward us, their chaotic shouts rising one after another. "Miss Kim, is there an important reason for your sudden return to the country? Miss Kim, who is the man next to you? Miss Kim, what are the next steps for the Kim group?" Just as I was about to be overwhelmed by a sense of unease and regret, the person beside me suddenly moved. She turned slightly, pulling a packet of tea bags from her bag. A faint scent of lavender and chamomile mixed with a hint of honeyed sweetness quietly wafted out. The memory was instantly pulled back 2 years. In that anonymous forum, I had tirelessly tried to open Silent Echo's heart. I recently found a tea bag that's quite special. A subtle fragrance of lavender and chamomile. When I'm feeling down, brewing a cup helps a lot. Would you like to try it? Send me an address. That was the first time she had responded, sending a string of addresses in Toronto. Would you like some? Fiona's voice came through, softer than before. She seemed not as unapproachable as her appearance suggested. Before I could nod or speak, she naturally picked up a tea bag with her slender fingers, placed it in a cup, and handed it to me. I took the slightly warm cup, slowly savoring it. In an instant, every pore of my body relaxed, unwinding in this familiar yet unfamiliar sweetness. Chapter 6. I really ended up staying in Toronto, a completely unfamiliar city. Fiona had settled me into a penthouse apartment by the Seine, but she seemed to be incredibly busy, and the large apartment often felt empty, with only me inside. After I finally adjusted to the time difference, During the first week, she rarely appeared at breakfast. One morning, she elegantly cut into her fried eggs, then suddenly spoke. "Richard, what do you want to do next?" Her question caught me off guard. Laura had never allowed me to take any significant role in the company. "You get nervous and go silent. You'll mess things up," she had once advised me with a tone that felt more like charity than concern. "Be good. Just do some minor work at your own company. Or go to the club and play golf. Who cares about the small stuff?" But now, Fiona looked at me calmly. "Your English needs to be built from the ground up. And that will take time. But the Chinese community in Toronto is very active. And there are plenty of opportunities. I believe this won't be difficult for someone like you." Without thinking, I tightened my hand resting on my lap, my knuckles turning slightly white. Can I do that? After so many rejections, I had become a bit unsure of myself. Fiona raised an eyebrow slightly and smiled faintly. "It's never too late to learn a language. Believe in yourself." Then, while learning English, I began working as a basic employee in Fiona's company, handling clients from the Chinese market. Learning and working, the sense of fulfillment and joy, pure and long forgotten, filled my heart like warm spring water. This happiness was so real that I couldn't help but want to share it with the few friends I still kept in contact with. Excited, I logged back into my long-forgotten WeChat account. However, the message notification sound instantly exploded like popcorn popping, going off frantically. The screen was flooded with countless messages, nearly freezing the app. The top few were from an acquaintance, a fringe figure from Laura's circle. "Richard, where have you gone? Laura's been searching for you like crazy. She even called me. Reply quickly. Laura seems really angry." Laura was looking for me. When Fiona took me away that night, I had been in such a terrible state, nearly on the verge of collapse. So, I entrusted all the follow-up matters concerning Laura and the marriage to Fiona's people. As for my phone number and social media accounts, I had cancelled the old number and had Fiona set up a new one for me with encrypted contact details. At that moment, a voice call request suddenly popped up with an unbearable ringtone. My finger was about to hit the delete button, but I accidentally answered. The next second, Laura's voice, full of suppressed fury, almost screamed into my ear, vibrating through my eardrum. "Richard, what the hell are you doing? Where the hell have you been? Do you still want to attend next week's gala? Do you still want the anniversary gift?" "Laura," I spoke calmly. "Unexpectedly so, we're divorced." There was a sudden silence on the other end of the line, as if she hadn't expected me to interrupt her so directly. Without a second thought, I ended the call. Less than a second after the screen went dark, the notification sound exploded again. "Richard, I've told you 100 times that was just an act. Are you so stupid you can't understand? What's your new number? Send it to me now. Add me back on WeChat. Do you want to remarry me or not?" One message after another, with her usual commanding tone and unquestionable authority. This time, I didn't hesitate at all. I clicked the delete contact option decisively and pressed the button. Next, I opened my contacts and added everyone related to Laura, friends, business partners, into the blacklist. The world, at last, became quiet. The healing power of the new environment quietly unfolded. Passing by a sports brand store, I remembered Fiona mentioning her morning exercise routine, so I bought a high-end yoga mat and a soft, flexible fascia ball. Recently, she had been coming home more often. I speculated she might be working out as I carried the shopping bag upstairs. Sure enough, faint rhythmic beats drifted from the door. As soon as the key touched the lock, the door swung open. Fiona stood before me, wearing a black training tank and sports shorts, beads of sweat sliding down her neck, the vitality of life hitting me all at once. And in her arms, a fluffy, snowball-like Maltese puppy was snuggled up. Puppy. My surprise instantly overwhelmed all my thoughts, and the shopping bag slipped from my hand onto the foyer. I reached out to take the soft, trembling ball of fur, and the little one affectionately rubbed against my palm. "You brought it back. How come you didn't mention it?" I asked, astonished. "It's a gift for you," she said, closing the door behind her. Slightly out of breath from her workout, I looked down at the little puppy in awe. For me, Laura had always been allergic to animal fur, and pets were a no-go in our home. I thought I would never have a dog again in my lifetime. My heart burst open with joy. I was finally going to have my own little dog. "Here, this is for you," Fiona said, hurriedly bending down to pick up the yoga mat and fascia ball and handing them to me. "I thought you could use them." She casually placed the items on the counter, her eyes still smiling as she watched me and the puppy. I hugged the warm little comfort and sank into the sofa. The golden retriever from my childhood had been similarly pressed into my arms, a birthday gift carefully chosen by my father, once a symbol of a carefree life. It felt as though holding this puppy was anchoring my heart. Looking up, I noticed Fiona, intrigued, playing with the gray-blue fascia ball. Her relaxed state after the workout allowed her brow to soften, and a rare, gentle curve of her lips appeared. "Fiona," I said, watching her childlike movements. The old term slipped out unconsciously. You can use that to roll out the trapezius. I stopped abruptly. The air instantly froze. Fiona. A low, heated voice surged toward me. She had somehow leaned in with a mischievous smile, her body temperature from the workout radiating like a wave of heat. The proximity was dangerously close. My heart raced wildly, like it was about to burst. The puppy yelped and jumped off the couch to hide. Her minty-scented lips suddenly came near. A brief, forceful, possessive kiss landed like a burn. As our lips parted slightly, the dark look in her eyes made my cheeks flush red. Richard, did you forget something important? My thoughts completely shattered. Before I could respond, she kissed me again. This time, the kiss turned tender and lingering, like spring rain soaking through. A moment later, her hoarse voice brushed against my ear. Should we go to the registry today, or tomorrow? Chapter 7. The kiss left my head spinning. I glanced at the dimming sky outside the window, muttering that we'd do it tomorrow. I never expected her to act so swiftly. The next day, she really took me to the city hall. The staff stamped the papers with a firm, crimson seal, and 2 copies of the documents were handed to us. There was a slight wobble in my heart, but more than that, a light, fragmented joy danced within me. Those who have crawled out of the abyss always seem to sense the presence of others like them. The warmth from Fiona's fingertips lingered through the papers. This choice was right. The sun was just right on the way back, but the sudden buzz of my phone felt like a chill rushing through me. It was an unfamiliar Toronto number. As soon as I answered, Laura's voice, laced with malice and impatience, cut through the distance. Richard. So, you've finally gone to Toronto and become that sick friend's lapdog. Huh. Her voice grated like sandpaper. It's been a month. Are you playing dead for whom? Have you had enough? I drew in a deep breath of the cool Parisian air, steadying myself. Laura, stop harassing me. Harassing? Do you think you have a life without me? She scoffed, each word stabbing. Clinging to your sickly friend as your lifeline. The raw honesty of the past had turned into a whip today. None of your business, she howled, on the verge of exploding. You were mine in life, and you'll be mine in death. Then her voice dropped to a low growl. Get back here now, or else. Beep. I cut the call decisively. The screen lit up immediately with a new message. Fine, got your wings now. Ha. Go mold with your sickly friend. Then, I had never seen Laura's true nature so clearly before, so vile, so contemptible, but after a moment, it felt almost natural. She could openly have an affair during our marriage and shamelessly claim a fake divorce. What could someone like that have of any noble character? It was just my youthful, lingering feelings that had blinded me to the truth. That night, after a long period of silence, notifications from social media and various platforms rang out in quick succession. Many people who weren't even close friends sent messages. Richard, what's going on with you and President Lin? One screenshot showed Laura's latest post. It was a photo, lit with an ambiguous glow and artistically composed, filled with atmosphere. In the photo, Laura and the young artist Ryan were intimately wrapped around each other, with their poses suggesting closeness. The caption was just a heart emoji. It was almost a public declaration of her relationship with Ryan. I couldn't be bothered to explain anything to these onlookers. I simply posted a direct, no-frills picture of our divorce certificate cover. No caption. Soon, my university friends group became very active. Whoa, Richard, you finally saw the light. Let's celebrate. We all knew Laura was trouble. When did that bunch of her friends ever respect you? Exactly. She's a mental manipulator, always bringing up your PTSD, making you so tense you couldn't even speak at social events. Totally. You could be having a good time with us, but the moment she shows up or calls, you freeze up like you've been hit with acupuncture. It turns out, all the signs had been obvious for a long time. I just chose to turn a blind eye back then. That kiss left me dizzy. I glanced out at the encroaching twilight, mumbling that we'd do it tomorrow. I never imagined she would act so decisively. The very next day, she took me straight to the city hall. With a flourish of the pen, the staff stamped the documents with a bold, red seal, and 2 copies were handed to us. There was a slight tremor in my chest, but more than that, a light, scattered joy bubbled inside me. Those who have crawled out of the abyss always seem to detect the presence of others like them. The warmth from Fiona's fingertips transmitted through the papers. This choice was right. On our way back, the sun was perfect, but the sudden vibration of my phone felt like a cold draft. It was an unfamiliar Toronto number. As soon as I answered, Laura's voice, tinged with malice and urgency, cut through the distance. Richard, you've really gone and become that sick friend's lapdog in Toronto. Her voice scraped at my ears like sandpaper. It's been a month. Who are you pretending to be dead for? Have you had enough? I took a deep breath of the cool Parisian air, steadying myself. Laura, stop harassing me. Harassing? Do you think you have a life without me? She scoffed, her words cutting like a knife. Clinging to your sickly friend as your lifeline. The raw honesty of the past had become a whip today. None of your business, she howled, on the verge of exploding. You were mine in life, and you'll be mine in death. Her voice grew darker. Get back here now, or else. Beep. I cut the call decisively. The screen lit up immediately with a new message. Fine, got your wings now. Ha. Go mold with your sickly friend. Then, I had never seen Laura's true nature so clearly before, so vile, so contemptible, but after a moment, it felt almost natural. She could openly have an affair during our marriage and shamelessly claim a fake divorce. What could someone like that have of any noble character? It was just my youthful, lingering feelings that had blinded me to the truth. That night, after a long period of silence, notifications from social media and various platforms rang out in quick succession. Many people who weren't even close friends sent messages. Richard, what's going on with you and President Lin? One screenshot showed Laura's latest post. It was a photo, lit with an ambiguous glow and artistically composed, filled with atmosphere. In the photo, Laura and the young artist Ryan were intimately wrapped around each other, with their poses suggesting closeness. The caption was just a heart emoji. It was almost a public declaration of her relationship with Ryan. I couldn't be bothered to explain anything to these onlookers. I simply posted a direct, no-frills picture of our divorce certificate cover. No caption. Soon, my university friends group became very active. Whoa, Richard, you finally saw the light. Let's celebrate. We all knew Laura was trouble. When did that bunch of her friends ever respect you? Exactly. She's a mental manipulator, always bringing up your PTSD, making you so tense you couldn't even speak at social events. Totally. You could be having a good time with us, but the moment she shows up or calls, you freeze up like you've been hit with acupuncture. It turns out, all the signs had been obvious for a long time. I just chose to turn a blind eye back then. Later that evening, Fiona returned to the apartment, with her assistant following closely behind, pushing two small, exquisite Rimowa suitcases. Pack your things. We need to go back to the country, she calmly announced. I didn't immediately process her words. The notarization for the marriage paperwork needs to be done back home, she continued. And also, I want to take you to meet my grandmother and some important family members, so you can formally meet them. Almost instinctively, the question, so soon, so formal, almost slipped out of my mouth. As my friends had said, Laura never brought me to any core family gatherings, let alone allowing her influential family members to formally meet me. Richard. Her gaze was focused and gentle, her voice low and clear, carrying an undeniable strength. Richard, you're the most important person to me. Of course, I want to introduce you to my family and friends. A strange, warm wave crashed into my chest, and even my fingertips tingled. So this was the power that came with a healthy, mutually respectful relationship. Fiona said she needed to handle some important business matters in a city first. So, the first stop of our return to the country was set for a city. Fiona's approach was very low-key. She naturally took my hand, our fingers entwined, surrounded by her assistant and bodyguards. We walked steadily toward the VIP passage. During this time, through both intentional and unintentional learning, I had come to understand who Fiona truly was. The bitter Kim family inheritance dispute from over a decade ago had far-reaching consequences and influence, much beyond a typical family feud. Business headlines had tracked the events for months, and its thrilling, unpredictable twists felt like something out of a business thriller. Back then, everyone thought that with the Kim family patriarch gravely ill and several uncles eyeing the position, the final victor would be one of the experienced old ministers or elders. No one expected the one to ultimately take the helm would be a young woman, freshly graduated from an elite overseas business school, Fiona. Even more shocking was that, just a few years after taking over, she had expanded the Kim family's business empire to unprecedented heights. I had, of course, heard her name and some of her accomplishments, but back then, I was too young, and by the time she shifted her focus abroad, I had lost track of her. She switched into a more business-like outfit and went straight to the core office of the Kim family in a city to handle official matters. Meanwhile, I continued my English studies at the hotel and familiarized myself with the lower-level operations of Fiona's company, preparing myself for future work there. By late evening, as I was finishing up my studies, my phone buzzed with a message from Fiona. I had some clothes sent for you to choose from. Time is tight, so they roughly measured your size. They should fit. Tomorrow, I'll take you to meet some important family friends. Don't be nervous. My heart skipped a beat and then raced ahead. Fiona's mention of a few sets was an understatement. When I returned to the suite's living room, I almost thought I had entered a luxury showroom. With the stylist's help, I tried on set after set, adjusting, pairing, and perfecting. In the mirror, the features once criticized by Laura as lackluster and lacking presence now exuded a calm, restrained elegance, thanks to the right cut and thoughtful styling. After several rounds of selection, we almost went into the early hours of the morning. In the end, I settled on a navy blue wool blend suit. Clean and sharp, yet still elegant and dignified. Subtle, but not insignificant. It wasn't until I made the final decision that I realized Fiona hadn't returned the entire evening. Having not set foot in a city for 10 years, she was now personally overseeing things at the core office, which I could only imagine was keeping her incredibly busy. By the following evening, I had changed into the suit, and the stylist had done a simple hairstyle and a light touch-up on my complexion. Looking at myself in the mirror, I found the reflection almost unfamiliar. I was no longer the shadow of someone clinging to Laura's aura, purposefully ignored by her. Just as I finished preparing, Fiona's message arrived at the perfect moment. The driver is waiting for you at the door. Short and to the point. Chapter 8. In the evening, the scent of osmanthus filled the air. The car drove into a narrow alley and stopped in front of an intricately carved iron gate, overgrown with vines. This was Fiona's grandmother's old, elegant home, where a family banquet was being held tonight. Just as I was about to get out of the car, my phone rang. The unfamiliar number displayed Laura's contact. I hung up immediately. She called again. I hung up again, and then decisively added her to my blacklist. The car came to a stop in front of the main building in the courtyard. As I opened the car door, the aroma of food and the sound of laughter reached me. However, the moment I stepped onto the stone path, the familiar figure in the shadows of the side corridor caught my eye. Laura. She was dressed in a striking rose-red dress, agitatedly dialing a number she couldn't reach. I ignored her and walked straight toward the main hall's entrance. Suddenly, she snapped her head up, her expression freezing into shock and anger. She straightened her back, her high heels stomping loudly, blocking my way. Her eyes were slightly red, and her voice became sharp. Richard, what are you doing here? Didn't you say you were cutting ties with me? Her voice dripped with sarcasm. Oh, heard about the party and decided to show up. Ah, nice try. She extended her hand, adopting a condescending stance. Fine, fine. It's important to make a good impression. Hold my arm. Let's go in looking presentable. I'll smooth things over with my mom and sister for you. The absurdity of it hit me all at once. I took a deep breath, completely ignoring her, and stepped aside to bypass her. She froze, then hurriedly caught up and grabbed my arm, lowering her voice to warn me. Stop right there. Are you deaf? Today, it's all close family and friends, and the company's big clients are here. Show some manners. Go in, keep quiet, and smile. Don't embarrass yourself. She tried to forcefully loop her arm around mine. Come on, hold my arm. Let others see. I abruptly stopped and turned around, my gaze as cold as ice. Laura, I'm not here to find you. She flared up like she had been struck. Ha, not here to find me. What's with the high horse? Without me, you'd never be here. Before she could finish, the grand door to the hall opened. Warm yellow light spilled out. Inside, the atmosphere was classic and cozy, with the family banquet in full swing. The focus of attention wasn't the kindly Kim matriarch at the main seat, nor was it her modest mother and competent older sister sitting at the lower places. The center of attention was Fiona Kim, casually standing by the main seat sofa. She wore a cream-colored cashmere sweater and a black pencil skirt, her hair tied loosely in a bun. She was talking to two elderly ladies, her posture relaxed yet commanding, effortlessly drawing all eyes to her. The elderly ladies' gazes often shifted to her, full of trust. Look, Laura's voice was thick with bitterness, yanking on my arm. That's the boss of our company's main client, Fiona, the pillar of the Kim family. What are you spacing out for? Go inside. Wait for her, Richard. Fiona's voice wasn't loud, but it pierced the space, clear and resonant. Her gaze naturally turned toward the entrance. The conversation in the hall came to an abrupt halt. All eyes, kind, confused, reserved, and probing, turned toward her. Fiona's lips curled into a slight smile as she nodded to the elders. She gracefully moved through the parted crowd, walking toward me. She stopped just a step away, her gaze focused and gentle, and reached out her hand to me. In the ensuing silence, with a smooth gesture, she led me by the hand to stand beside her. Her shoulder lightly brushed mine, offering silent support. Her gaze lingered seriously on my face, and then she turned to face the entire hall. She looked at the smiling matriarch, at Lynn's surprised mother and the older sister, whose sharp, scrutinizing gaze met hers. Her voice was steady and clear, a declaration that rang through the room. Grandmother, mom, uncles, and all the elders. She paused briefly. Let me introduce you properly. She turned to look at me, her eyes sparkling, holding my hand tightly. This is Richard. Her words were clear, each syllable deliberate. My husband. We just got our marriage certificate. A deep silence fell over the room. Kim matriarch suddenly stood up, her smile blooming like a flower, her voice filled with excitement. Oh my goodness, my Fiona, what wonderful news. You've told me about this before. She waved her hand enthusiastically, her eyes fixed on me. Richard, good boy, Come over here and let grandmother take a good look at you. I always said Fiona has the best taste. So steady and composed. The room erupted in an instant, filled with congratulations and blessings. At the edge of the joy, Laura's face turned pale, and after the shock, there was only the unbearable sting of humiliation and anger. Laura's mother, holding a teacup, froze midair, her smile stiff and frozen. Her gaze was fixed on her daughter, a mix of disappointment and deep frustration reflected in her eyes. The older sister furrowed her brow and shot an accusing glance at Laura, quickly averting her eyes in discomfort, while the room was filled with warm laughter. In the corner of the Lynn family section, everything was frozen in silence. Fiona took me back to the capital's family home. The notarization process was tedious, but we went directly to collect the certificate. On that day, when she had some free time, we made breakfast together and tidied the room. She shared a bit about her past. Her parents had passed away early, and her younger brother had tragically fallen to his death at the age of 8. The only relatives left were those who remained distant and polite. She had been in one relationship, which ended when her partner betrayed her. Since then, she had grown tired of the opposite sex for a long time. It was only by chance that she had joined the support group, where our story began, partly because my profile picture resembled her late brother. Half a month after we registered our marriage, I still hadn't initiated anything with her. Was it because I didn't know how to begin? Or because we hadn't spent enough time together? Nights together in bed, the atmosphere subtly changed. She tried to get closer, but there was a hesitation in her movements. I thought, is her restraint intentional? But when her kiss came, it was filled with warmth and urgency, genuine and undeniable. The certificate had already been received, and the union of feelings now felt even more important. I noticed she seemed lost in thought. I asked, "What are you thinking about?" Then, without waiting for a reply, I turned over and pulled her into my embrace. She shook her head, avoiding an answer. Her lips gently descended onto mine once again. Her kisses had been growing deeper and longer recently. "I just want to give you more time to adjust." Her voice was husky, seductive. A rush of warmth filled my chest. "Fiona," I whispered suddenly, with resolve in my voice, "I think I like you." Without waiting, I tilted my head and kissed her deeply. In the end, the night was fleeting, and only at dawn did we finally rest. Chapter 9. Things hadn't been going smoothly for Laura lately. After the setback at the family banquet, she was reprimanded by her mother, shunned by her sister, and even her small influence in the company was nearly taken away. She spent her days with the artist, but all her resentment was directed at me. She secretly hired a writer to fabricate stories about Fiona's affairs, inventing her as a mistress and slandering me as a man living off of others. Climbing the social ladder, beneath Fiona's rare financial interviews, vague comments began to appear. Well, the business queen behind the scenes. Isn't she supposed to be single? Forceful acquisition. She's the third party. Fiona didn't care at all, but it stuck in my throat like a bone. That day, Fiona was dealing with an urgent matter at the company, wrapping up preparations to return to Toronto. I was packing my bags in the apartment when suddenly, loud, jarring voices erupted outside the window. My husband Richard and I, childhood sweethearts, over 20 years of love, shattered by the interference of a mistress. Look at these photos. These are the ones of Fiona at the airport protecting someone, the ones that were deleted across the internet. Fiona, she's been pretending to be a fellow patient, getting close to my husband for years. She's the third party. Buzz. My blood boiled. It was Laura. She had brought a group of influencers and blocked the entrance to the apartment building. She screamed into the camera, her face meticulously painted with an expression of rage and victimhood, playing the heartbroken person whose love had been stolen. Kim family controls everything. I want justice. I want my husband to speak the truth. A wave of fury and protectiveness crashed through my reason. I grabbed the stack of evidence papers I had prepared earlier and stormed downstairs. The door was flung open. "Richard." Laura's face twisted with a mix of surprise and malice. I took a few steps forward, slamming the thick stack of papers into her face. Thud. The papers scattered everywhere. "Laura." My voice trembled with anger. "Take a good look at yourself. Who gave you the confidence to twist the truth like this?" I picked up a few of the scattered top pages. They were screenshots of her and Ryan's boastful and explicit chat logs. I threw them back at her. "Look at the mess you've made. Don't you dare tarnish the term childhood sweethearts. You don't deserve it." Finally, I opened my phone and turned the volume up to the max, playing the venomous rant she had made while drunk. Coup family heir. What a joke. Those years, taking care of him, watching him like a useless person who couldn't even speak. I was so sick of it. If it weren't for that little bit of the Coup family's remaining assets. Laura's face drained of color, the facade of affection completely crumbling, leaving only terror and disgrace. "Turn it off, she screamed, rushing to snatch the phone from my hand. Fiona's security arrived promptly, dispersing the crowd and removing the live stream content from the internet. However, the storm she stirred up didn't die down. What truly spread were the smug messages Ryan had sent. The screenshots of Laura lavishly spending money on him, belittling and mocking me. Ryan's image as an artist quickly crumbled. He had fabricated his background, lived in the mansion bought by the Lin family, wore trendy clothes gifted by them, and used his persona as a single rich heir to flirt with other wealthy young women. Fiona had never targeted the Lin family's business directly before, but Laura had crossed her line. She had publicly slandered her and hurt the people Fiona cared about. Fiona didn't need to take direct action. Kim's legal and PR departments jointly released a meticulously worded, well-supported statement. Kim's core group and all affiliated enterprises are immediately terminating all partnerships with Laura and any companies or projects under her name. At the same time, we reserve the right to pursue legal actions for defamation and infringement of reputation. This statement was a fatal blow to Laura's business career. Not long after, Laura's mother called. Her voice was tired and pleading. "Richard, we didn't raise her well. For the sake of all these years of friendship." "Aunt," I interrupted calmly, with a tone of distance. "The Lin family helped my family during our hardest times after my parents passed. I remember that kindness." But my voice became firm. "Over the years, as per Lin family's wishes, I have integrated the remaining assets of the Koo family into the Lin family's empire. I owe Lin family nothing, and I owe Laura nothing. The past is over. As for the rest, I'm afraid I'm powerless." As originally planned, Fiona and I were preparing to return to Toronto. At a city's airport, the light drizzle made the air cool. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance to the VIP waiting room. Laura, looking disheveled, barged in, her expensive outfit muddy and wet, her damp hair sticking to her pale face. The air of a socialite she once had was now gone. "Richard, Richard," she screamed as she stumbled toward me, slipping on the floor and crashing at my feet. She struggled to lift her head, her eyes filled with despair and frantic pleading. "Please, don't leave. Please, don't go." "Okay." Fiona, a few steps away, looked on with cold indifference, only disdain in her eyes. People around us began to pull out their phones to record this drama of the high society. Laura clutched my suitcase handle tightly, her voice hoarse and desperate. "Listen to me. It's all a misunderstanding. That recording, Ryan secretly recorded it for you. Not me. I didn't even know about it. I was drunk. It was nonsense. How could I think you're annoying? My marriage to you was real. I truly wanted to be with you for life. The things I said to Ryan were stupid. He was the one who provoked me. The divorce was all fake. It was an act. Richard, it's all just a series of misunderstandings." "Yeah." I looked down, calmly staring at her. "It's always someone else's fault. It's someone else who pushed you onto that bed. All those words that belittled me, humiliated me, treating me like a burden and a joke, those were only said by you when you were possessed by something dark. Laura Lin, you've always assumed that I, Richard, couldn't live without you, couldn't live without the Lin family's tree. That's why you thought you could trample on me, mock my weakness, and suppress my self-worth. It became the only way for you to feel superior in your miserable life, didn't it? The Lin family was ruled by her competent older sister, Laura. She was nothing but a peripheral figure in the family, a squanderer of wealth, a spoiled second-generation heir. Her only achievement in life was probably having taken in and controlled the broken and helpless version of me. Let go, Laura." My voice was tired, resolute. "For the sake of that bit of sentiment that's long been wasted, don't make the ending too ugly." The hand gripping the suitcase handle trembled violently, as if burned, and she let go with a defeated sigh. I pulled my suitcase and turned away without hesitation. Behind me, Laura's heartbreaking wails were soon swallowed up by the airport's announcements and the hurried footsteps all around. Chapter 10. After that, I didn't see Laura for a long time. I didn't intentionally seek out news about her either, but occasionally, through some of my close friends who still had their ears to the ground in the domestic scene, I would hear a few scattered details about her and Ryan. Ryan's true nature was fully exposed, causing quite a stir. The few rich heirs he had been dating and deceiving both emotionally and financially demanded that he pay back the money. As for Laura, her situation was said to have become even more pitiful. Due to her foolish actions, she had dragged down her parents' business interests, and the Lin family had completely abandoned her. All her credit cards were frozen, and all her properties, vehicles, jewelry, and anything valuable were confiscated. She was kicked out of the Lin family's mansion and truly became a penniless fallen heiress. The Lin family demanded that she fend for herself. There were rumors that the once lavishly spending second daughter of the Lin family now hesitated for a long time when buying a bottle of wine at the supermarket. She had to budget carefully, renting cheap housing and buying only the most affordable things. Meanwhile, my own work was progressing unusually smoothly. Thanks to my expertise, I started from the very bottom of the company. I tried every entry-level job, and gradually, I was entrusted with leading small projects. My English improved as well, and daily communication was no longer a problem. During my first spring festival in Toronto, Fiona didn't take me to the traditional Chinese gathering spots but instead arranged a special trip to Provence. Provence in winter had shed the purple romance of lavender, yet it revealed a vast, wild beauty all its own. We rode horses, galloping across the expansive plains, facing the biting but refreshing wind. At night, we stayed in an ancient stone farmhouse. The fire crackled in the hearth, warm and peaceful. Wrapped in thick wool blankets, we sat on the terrace, gazing up at the brilliant stars above. Every star here, Fiona's voice sounded especially deep and soft in the quiet of the night, has once lit the path of those who loved us, and it will eventually light our way forward. I leaned against her shoulder, feeling the rare tranquility and warmth. Fiona had a younger brother. He was 10 years younger than her and his name was Samuel. He always liked to say he was a little prince sent from another planet, tasked with bringing happiness to his sister and protecting her. But fate seemed especially harsh on this little prince. He lost both parents at a young age. When he was 8, he begged his older sister Fiona to make him tea. Fiona said, "Adults drink tea. Little kids can only drink water." Unfortunately, shortly after, Fiona was besieged by a group of ruthless uncles, who plotted against her, leaving her exhausted from the endless scheming. One day, Fiona lost her brother forever and was left without any family. That cup of tea was never shared with him. Many years later, on that anonymous trauma support forum, an account with a profile picture eerily resembling her late brother sent a friend request. The applicant was named, "The boat has sailed beyond 1,000 peaks. Hello, may I add you as a friend? I'd like to chat. The weather's nice today. Hope you're feeling good too. Another day has passed, but I still hope to get through as your friend." Fiona later told me that back then, she found the account, "The boat has sailed beyond 1,000 peaks," too noisy, like an ever-energetic little son. But the persistent friend request from "The boat has sailed beyond 1,000 peaks" was like a stone dropped into still waters. Okay, the other person had agreed to add her as a friend. She watched as this stranger, day after day, happily shared the little details of their life: the sunlight outside the window, a small flower by the roadside, an old song she had randomly heard, even a photo of a latte art on her coffee. Those simple yet life-filled fragments of everyday life were like a faint but continuous light, piercing through her closed, cold world. One filled with guilt and self-blame. Over time, as she felt the tender and resilient care from "The boat has sailed beyond 1,000 peaks" through the screen, a nearly impossible thought began to take root in her heart. Could this person be a gift from her brother? Someone sent to light her way while she endured the pain of losing her closest family, self-exiled in endless loneliness. But at that time, "The boat has sailed beyond 1,000 peaks" was someone else's husband. Now, Fiona's voice carried a hint of a barely noticeable choke, and she turned to face me. Standing in the center of the studio, "You are my husband." She walked to the window, looking up at the brightest star in the night sky, her voice soft like a sigh. "Do you think Samuel, did he really send the most precious gift in the world to my side? Did he forgive me for being such an incompetent sister?" I gently took her slightly cold hand, pulled her into my embrace, and kissed the tear that finally slipped down her cheek. "He never blamed you. He's always been the little prince who wanted to protect his sister, the angel who descended to earth. He saved me, and guided me, bringing me to you to fulfill his wish, to protect you, so that you would never be alone." Fiona's body trembled slightly, then she clung to me even tighter, as if trying to merge with me. Her voice was buried in the crook of my neck, filled with an unprecedented vulnerability and determination. "Richard, you are the light I've waited for in endless darkness. I love you so much. The greatest regret in life is to give a sincere heart to the wrong person, letting time pass in the mud. The greatest blessing in life is to still meet the person who knows how to cherish and light each other's way after all the scars." We held each other tightly, and the starlight outside the window gently fell. It was as if the forever 8-year-old little prince was sitting on the moon, smiling reassuringly at his beloved sister.